the regular way, but
Right.
this is, you know,
A little more intimate.
yeah, look, see?
There you go. See?
See, he picked up.
That works.
Okay, Hotep family, my name is Brother Ray Ray.
Hey, Ray.
We want to welcome everybody to Dr. William Mackey Jr.'s lecture series. In honor of Dr. William Mackey Jr., Louis Ray Rivera, Gil Noble, we have Brother Amos Wilson, and all the people that gave up fame and fortune to tell the truth, to provide information. Information is one of the most important aspects. Anything you ever want to know, they tell you, you got to get information. Learning. Learning is the key. And we're starting off this new year. See, we was going to say, no, don't, we were scheduled for the new year. No, we ain't going to run that. Let's stay home. Bring the new year in and stay home. The European never stays home with information. They crank out information 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They have newspapers all over the place. Internet. They're not hiding information.
Right.
Barnes and Nobles. Amazon. Browder Books. All over the place. Right now, send the camera over to the Amos collection. We have the Amos collection over there. Blueprint to Black Power. Black on Black violence. Awakening the natural genius of the black children. Developmental psychology of the black child. And we have recording the unspeakable Bible verses, Judeo-Islam and Christianity, Earl Ponder. He passed away and left a whole bunch of books with Sababa, African World Ecosystems, and I just took a few. And then we have African-centered consciousness versus the New World Order. And that's what basically they're trying to bring in now, which is a old world order. First New World Order, as per John Henry Clark, was when they brought Africans to America. Every European that came here, you hear it now. We came to the New World. We came from someplace else to the New World. They called this place the New World because they was running from Europe. And they're not looking to go back. And in honor of Louis Ray Rivera, we have Jazz in Jail. Excellent book. I spoke to his wife and got a few copies to have. But without further ado, we have Tuesday is very important. Coming into the new year, spread the word. Not only about Mackey's, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, with Brother Mike Graves. Community Cop, 5 o'clock. Excellent program. Saturday that just passed, we're talking about the information from Community Cop is excellent with Mike, Noel, Julian, Father Lawrence Lucas, and the irritating genie who he brings on, Dr. Jeffries. Community Cop is fierce coming in out of 2019 and into 2020. Genie was unbelievable. So you could imagine what's going to happen and what's on the calendar for information and historical context that Community Cop will bring. This past Saturday, Sister Empress Chi had 2 people on Blog Talk Radio was, oh my, deadly. Unbelievable. They talked all the way to after 12 o'clock. So this is the plan, to always be able to provide information, learning. Because people that don't learn, don't know. So we honor these people who wanted to provide history and information. So we would know. And that's why we said no. We're not going to cancel Dr. Mackey, because see, Dr. Mackey, Louis Ray, Gil Noble, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, they never took days off. They was always looking for information to, so when they do a lecture or provide information to help the masses, they didn't take days off. The newspapers all over their house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why we did not cancel. And we set it up as a community table this week. You know, so we're gonna have just talk and conversation, and then we got refreshments in there, and it's not gonna be nothing different. I wanna thank everybody for coming
Yes,
and saying, listen,
that's right.
what I need for 2020 is more information so I can arm myself. Because if you read and you see what was going on all through the year, but since we've been here, it's always been America is blaming us. We're always the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think for 1 second, Saturday, Mike, when the gentleman was speaking, he was talking about historically during the 1800s, the 1700s, the 1900s, where America is actually allowed white folks to just come through and destroy black economic foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks running, escaping torture,
Mm-hmm.
and they did nothing about it. And he names East St. Louis, Oklahoma, Jacksonville, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and places that they just killed us. It's happening right now.
That's right.
The guy who went on the train after that young girl was found in the park buying drugs. One of the sergeants of the Benevolent Association said, what was she doing in the park buying drugs? They hurried up and retracted that statement. But he didn't open up his mouth. So a guy came and was going to Harlem, and the police called him, and he said, we have to take care of the problem, and the problem was these black folk. Not to mention that she was doing drugs and buying and copping, don't know who she owed or how much money she owed. And he came to hurt some black folk. And he said, we have to get rid of the problem. So in this day and time, they're still trying to make the problem us.
Mm-hmm.
So again, information, information, information in honor
Mm-hmm.
of the people that gave up a good life. Not the corner of Westers or Skip Gates. The nerve of him to call the brilliant work of Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and Professor William Mackey and Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Van Sertima pseudo-scholars
Mm-hmm.
to entertain,
That's right.
to entertain white folk so they can say, look, we got one right here that's willing to talk about his own people,
Mm-hmm.
knowing in deep down inside he couldn't carry Professor Mackey's bags.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't carry Dr. Ben's bags with
That's
Dr.
right.
J. He couldn't carry their shoes.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
He couldn't carry their shoes to them to put their shoes on.
No.
They would rip him apart. And he said it to satisfy. Please. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're going to have a good year. Little by little, the organization will rise, one member at a time. Because I'm going to tell you something. You might think you can run, but you can't hide. And Dr. Arthur Lewis stated in his last lectures, this system is falling.
It's going.
It is going. And Elijah Muhammad said, The Fall of America. He wrote that book, and it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they are getting they're just going crazy now.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, we're going to participate in the round table, and thank you very much.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're going to do this round table, and some people are gonna be called on, they don't know who, but they're gonna be called on
Mm-hmm.
to say some things. That's the way we got it set up, and as those who are flanking my right called it an intimate setting, that's exactly what it is. And so that's what we're gonna do. Now, from the outset, I call Harold on a regular basis, and you'd be surprised what many of us walk around with, the information. You might not know the information that you carry around, but it's institutional.
Mm-hmm.
It is part of the foundation of whatever you're trying to build. So you might see a wall and it's just a wall to you, but if you look at where the open areas are, where you can see the bricks, for the wall to be a wall, the bricks have to be set up a certain way for them to be in harmony with each other to have that wall. And this is what our ancestors understood. So I said, we don't have to have a real hardcore lecture today, and I'm not into festive European holidays. Now I admit that, you know, there's time for family, and that's important. And so whenever you do get together on a holiday, my request would be, please don't celebrate it from a European mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the only problem. It could be a European holiday, but you can make it African in your house.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can make it an African experience in your house. You know, white folks, I think Harold started out before we put the cameras on, he was saying something about Thanksgiving, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get back to that. So I'll hold my point because I'll let him make his point about it, because I got some observations about some holidays, but I'll hold that now and let him get started. But this is what we're doing tonight. So we'll start out with Harold, but Harold's not going to, as he called it, I'm not going to hog up all the time, but he's got a lot of information, and he was saying some things, and I said, brother, could you say that Wednesday? And he hesitated, you know, after all of that. I said, brother, just say it. I said, no particular order. He said, well, I'm going to have to grab some books. I thought he was going to grab 2 books. He mentioned 2 books he was going to bring. Now look at what the brother did. But see, that's what you get when you're around Dr. J too much.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happens to you get infected with something positive.
Yeah.
So he said, well, it would be robbery for me to come with 2 books. So he came with about 20 books. That's there. So, but that's the beauty of the first world, and that's where basically those people who call themselves now all over the country conscious comes out of first world, whether they give the credit to first world or not. But first world was when scholars took to the streets. They left the ivory towers of Harvard, Yale, and all these places. In Dr. Ben's particular case, where was that, Princeton? I know he did Cornell. Cornell. I know he did Ivy League. And so, and they developed with, and I should be, Mother Keffer and others developed First World. So there were people behind the scenes. It wasn't only Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, but Mother Keffer and others behind the scenes organized it at 145th Street and Convent Avenue. And from there, they put out so much information that scholars and the Ashwan Kwesi's and the you know, Dr. J's and so many others developed. And out of that, you have people all over the country now that can give information that you'll never get on a university level. You can go through all these degrees. I was listening to a sister that was saying how she went through, she's an architect, and she's she has a PhD in architecture and engineering, and she didn't know we built the pyramids. And she went there with Dr. Ashwan Kwesi, and she went there with him, and when he started telling her about what these texts represent, and these images on the wall, you know, what Europeans call hieroglyphs and netta. Our language, our first writings, the first writings on the planet, you know, she started crying like a baby because she found out that we built this. So it wasn't Europeans that gave math and science to the world, it was us. And she cried because she had a PhD in this stuff and didn't know it comes from us. She was giving so much credit to Thales and all those other Europeans, Copernicus and all of them, and she didn't know that we taught them. And that the stuff that they teaching her, they stole. So she didn't know that, and so I'm just saying, if she can have, can you imagine the time and effort it take to get a PhD in architecture? You know, just to get a bachelor's in there is hard work. You know, you grinding, but to get what she got, and so I'm just saying that to say that many of us walk around with more information than we know, and don't even trivialize the street information. You know, because we got to be able to navigate the streets too, not just the suites. So, you know, you'd be surprised what you know, how, you know, if you were on the rough side of the mountain growing up and did 1,001 things, how advantageous that can be in life. You know, so a lot of people have a lot of information. So I'm saying that to say that the information that you can get over a phone call, and that wasn't just a one-time experience. Harold does it all the time. But at this point now, we're going to let Harold get started and talk about some stuff. And then before the night's over, everybody's going to be contributing. We're going to start with Harold at this point.
So I would say, first of all, good evening.
Good evening.
We had the game out. And whenever you feel that you want to ask a question, ask a question. Now, to get started, Mike mentioned Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving did not start out as Thanksgiving. During the Revolutionary War, there were black troops that wanted to fight for George Washington. He said, those that are here can stay, but we don't want no more black troops. So the general from the British side, I think Pitcairn was his name, or his assistant, or his general, said, all right, you guys come over and fight with us. So the black troops joined the British, and the British side began to win. And Washington said, wait a minute, hold on a second, hey, can't you guys take the jokes? Come on back over here. And so, what happened? Yes.
What did the British promise these
They promised them freedom.
Okay.
They promised them freedom. Yes, and whenever you finish this, we'll give you freedom. There's a book that covers that called Rough Crossing. I think his name is Simon Schumm, I think his name. The book's called Rough Crossing. Details a lot of that. Much more detail than we're able to go into tonight. But moving ahead, when that war was over, as you know, the British lost. And as a result, they had to leave. And all the brothers and sisters that were sympathetic to the British had to go. That was called Evacuation Day. November 30, 1783. Now, that lasted until Lincoln came in. Note that date. Then Lincoln changed it to Thanksgiving Day to honor the white folks that had taken the land from the indigenous people. So that's
what are the indigenous people, brothers?
The so-called Indian.
Okay.
Brown folks. Some are black, quite a few are. But that's the story of Thanksgiving. And so oftentimes, as Mike said, we get these European holidays, we don't know the African side. But usually there's an African component to this. And so here, there's a book you have to have anyone in the room to recognize this. This is called Cesare Borgia. Does anyone know what that is? That's the skinny white boy you see hanging on the cross. They call him Jesus Christ. That's Pope's son. He became the model for Jesus hanging on the cross. And this is how another one of those ways that the white folks trick black folks. And I'm just skipping around, because give us some material you want to ask questions about.
The blacks that fought for the British after the British lost, so they had to leave. What did they have to leave to?
They left New York Harbor and they went up to Canada. They went to a place in Canada. They named the town Benton Town. Benton, the way they tell the story, was the ship's captain. And he respected the brothers and sisters in such a manner that when they got this section that they lived in, they named the town in his honor, called Benton Town of Bentonville. I think it was Bentonville. Established in 1784, I think it was. And as a result of that, they stayed there for about a dozen years or so. And that was the group that left and went to Liberia, settled Liberia. And they named Liberia, when they crossed the sea, they called it rough crossing. From the sea that they saw rocks that looked like a lion sleeping. So they called it Liberia, because Liberia means sleeping lion, or lion sleeping. But that's an excellent book to read, that book, Rough Crossing. And, but that's some other things were bothering me. I realize I'm jumping around.
It's all right.
I want to establish a question and answer thing. About these folks, they call themselves Jews.
Go ahead.
They're not Jews. I was invited to read 13th tribe, chosen people of the Caucasus, and above all, the African origin of the Jewish people.
Oh, yes.
By Greenberg, Moses Greenberg. The chosen people of the Caucasus, Michael Bradley. And the 13th tribe is Arthur Kessler, K-O-E-S-T-L-E-R. These people belong to us. The original Jews was us. They still are.
Now,
Yes, sir.
are any of those scholars black that wrote those books?
Which
So
books?
they people that wrote the books that you just said?
Most of these are white folks.
Okay.
They're white folks.
Robin shoes.
Most of them are Jews.
Right.
Yes.
So they are writing about.
But by themselves.
Exactly.
In the Moses mystery, it upset the entire Jewish community.
Of course.
Because he laid it out biblically, all the falsehoods around that, all the myths around them as a people, but Harold, just, explain to them, you can go back as far as the Caspian Sea, or wherever you want to take it, but just mention how white folks took this religion from us and how they have perpetrated the fraud to this very day.
Well, actually, Mike, they're not white. They're Turkish people,
Right.
Asiatics. And in 762 AD, 762, there was a Arabic Muslim incursion into Spain. Charles Martel, I think, was the guy that it conquered the Muslims. They were spreading the Muslim religion throughout Europe, through that part of Europe. And the Khazars is what these people were around the Black Sea, in a town called Ityl, I-T-Y-L, on the Black Sea. That's where these folks lived. Now, they kind of had wind that sooner or later they're going to have to choose a religion. Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. And their king, Bulan, at the time, he called in 3 leaders, a rabbi, a priest, and an imam. And listened to all of them. He wanted to know what's best for my people, see, to quote him. I'm paraphrasing, I wasn't there. But so at the end of it, the decision was made to go with the Hebrew. And this is how these people became Hebrews in 762 AD.
There you go.
They are called Khazars. Now that's in H.G. Wells' book, The History of the World. The guy who wrote The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. What's his name? Ed Gibbons. Solomon Razell, the Columbia Encyclopedia, all of them writes the same thing about the same people. And so, because you know they're going to call, they're anti-this and anti-that, they're not Semites. All the Semites on the planet come out of Eastern Asia, Western Asia and Eastern Africa. Anything else is phony. All the Semites come out of Western Asia and Eastern Africa.
Well, a lot of these Jews today are Europeans. They've been grafted into the Hebrew. They call them Jews, but they're real Europeans, really.
Actually, they're Asian that came to Europe. Because if you read, I'm getting a mental block here. He wrote that the Jews in Europe did not come to Europe until the fall of the Roman Empire. I'll think the name in a second.
Brother, brother, you don't have to worry about the name.
Okay, but anyway,
just give the information.
Because I'm just, I like to give right stuff, I don't half stepping yet.
Right.
We come from UAM. we don't do no half stepping, But when you talk to these folks, you want to give correct information. And here's another one. They tell me this is called the Protocols of Zion. And they tell me that this is a phony. But I'm yet to read this. For anyone that read this, I would please, if you see something that's not true, point it out to me, please. It's like the brother mentioned a while ago. You mentioned they control everything, all the evil.
Vice.
Somebody said that?
Vice.
It's in here. But they claim it's not true.
What's an example of the things written in
The education was one. The media is another. And there's 2 or 3 others in there, Mike. I'm trying to think of
Real estate. Real estate.
Real estate. Oh, absolutely. Real estate. Sure. Prostitution. Yeah. Pornography. All that stuff. They control.
Gambling.
Yeah, and they say it's not true. But here it is. In the Russian Revolution, they supposed to start in 1917. It started in the Bronx. The Rothschild Money Trust. All those folks were born, what's his name, Lenin and all that, were born in the Bronx. It's all recorded in here. This is by George Armstrong. Now you said, listen to these folks, they got the news people hoodwinked, and they were having us saying they're under so much pressure. They're not under direct pressure.
Since you opened that up, what is happening right now? And I'm trying to get a clearer picture on it, with them focusing on black folk and the attack of black folks on the Jews. Even in Jersey City, where the blacks are supposed to have went kill these Jews, and they claim that they were trying to get to the synagogue. I don't know how to set that up, but to me, in my mind, these things are being set up, and especially with the black guy who was supposed to went up and took a machete or something, went in and started hacking. This guy was in the mental institution and was on medications supposed to be, but if you got any insight to that, and especially the connection with the history of the Jews and stealing the identity of black folks, what's going on?
Well, no, I don't. First of all, 2 things we're going to attack. The black folk attacking Jews. They're not attacking, they're defending themselves. The way I get this story, just take Jersey, for example. The Jews have gone in because it's too high to live in Manhattan. I mean, expensive. I have a friend of mine, he gets Channel 1. I can't get that. That's on the, what that used to be, Channel 1. What's that?
New York one?
New York 1. New York 1. And they had a conference among the Jews, and they were being advised to get out of Manhattan because, New York in general, because the rent is too high. So what they do in a case like that, they went into Newark and threatened to run the people out. They wanted to buy you out. People said, no, I ain't selling that. It's been too many years. So if you don't sell, we're gonna bring in prostitutes, we're gonna bring in druggies. So apparently they pushed the wrong button somewhere down the road. And the brothers rebelled against that. That was not a robbery. That was no robbery. Because if you notice, you watch the film, when the brothers got out of the car on that side of the street, when they got to the center of the street, they started shooting.
Right,
Right?
that's right.
That's what it was. They did pretty much the same thing. Now, Mike can give you a better story of that because he's been in Brooklyn a long time. They bogarted their way into Bed-Stuy, the same way. But I think they reached the point today, the brothers are fighting back. It's the same lie they tell, well, you know, Hitler hated the Jews. Hitler didn't hate the Jews. It was set up wherein Hitler did not want the Jews to take their money and go to Israel, take their money out of the German banks, and have the economy collapse in Germany. So what they did, or they tried to do, have a meeting, say, listen, you go to Israel, you grow your oranges and different fruits.
Well, there was no Israel at that time.
Palestine.
For clarification.
Right.
They say, you know, you send your fruit, oranges, and whatever you grow, send it back to Germany. And we'll credit your bank account. But don't take your money. Because if you take the money, our economy will collapse. These fools took their money away, or tried to. Hitler said, no, I'm not going to let that happen. So that's when he set up, not him alone, of course, but his committee set up a way to stop this movement. They started sending them to concentration camps. What interesting. Edwin Black writes a story called the Transfer Agreement by Edwin Black. He didn't live it, but his parents did. And for years they were reluctant to tell him about it, and he was their son. But eventually he got the information. He wrote this book called The Transfer Agreement. If you get a chance, please read that book.
Good book.
Excellent book. And so, you know, and so oftentimes what we hear on the news, it ain't necessarily true.
Right, true.
Now, in the transfer agreement, just to help Harold out with that, in the transfer agreement, because Harold knows his information so well, he's glossing over things and moving in a way where you're not going to get the whole thing. In the transfer agreement, you have to understand that there's a Jewish hierarchy, okay? And they have people that represent such an aristocratic class you would not believe. Now, these people here in America, these millionaires, because there wasn't many billionaires back then in the 1930s, you know, but millions of dollars would be billions of dollars a day. So for that time, they were billionaires. They sat down with FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President Roosevelt. And he said, because he knew early on that there were problems in Germany and that some people were being incarcerated. He said, do you want me to bring those that we get out? We meaning America. He said, do you want them to come here? You know what the rich Jews here said? No. They said no.
No way.
He said, we don't bring them here. He said, yeah, but you know, when we do send soldiers there, we can rescue them. They said no. Rich Jews sat in the Oval Office and told him no. Said, no, we don't want to do that. Said, this is what we want to build up world sympathy. So we want them to burn. Let them burn. We want to build up sympathy all over the world. They said, now, if anybody gets out, send them to Palestine. Because our goal is to take Palestine from the Arabs. You know, now, the Arabs took it from us, right? So their goal was to take Palestine from Arabs and make it Israel, what it is today. So what they did was, they said if anybody gets out, just set up shop in Palestine and just stay there. We coming. We're going to establish something. So if you get out of Germany or any of those surrounding countries that was under the whip Send them to Palestine. Don't send them here. We don't have nothing for them here. We ain't taking care of them. But we want some people to burn, and in that process, when things are right, they will start attacking Arabs. They became terrorists. Now, if I hope I'm not taking you off topic, brother,
Right along.
what happened was Menachem Begin was one leader. He wasn't the only leader. There were many leaders that had different Jewish sects.
Ergun.
The Ergun and all that. And they were vicious, cold-blooded killers. And what they did was they was attacking European hotels that Britain and all of them own, American interests. They were just killing anybody they wanted to kill, bombing. So when they talk about Arabs and making that synonymous with terrorists, nobody has anything on their goon and all of those various. There were 5 or 6 real strong groups in that during that time. And so what they did was, and like I said, also was affected American industry. They bombed an American hotel or something like that.
And bus school children.
Yeah,
School,
and buses, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that to say that they were setting up Israel while they were still in Palestine. So in the transfer agreement, the aristocracy chose. They were debating between Palestine and Uganda, right? But they said, we can't justify going into Uganda. That's in the middle of Africa.
Right.
How can we go into Central Africa and say we belong there? There's nothing in the Bible, whether you believe in the Bible or not, and I'm not disrespecting anybody's faith, but that book, people look at it as a real living history. And a lot of it is not. Some history is in it, but not a lot of real history is in it. So yeah, I don't want to fit, but some of it's myth. Some of it is myth. So I'm saying that to say they could not justify, my point is they couldn't justify going into Uganda. Just in the encirclement of all these black folks, take it and then say, God gave us this. Well, they gonna ask, any Christian would ask you, well, where did God give you our land? That's like me coming to your house tonight and say, God gave me this. And you say, well, brother, you crazy? You know, I've been here 30 years. You know, what are you talking about? So they couldn't justify Uganda, but they said we can justify someplace and we'll make it a Middle East. Because if you said Middle East, then nobody know what you're talking about. So they made a term, Middle East, and claimed that God gave them that land. And since the Bible had these narratives already about a chosen people, and Harold already said if there was a chosen people, it's us. Because we were there and they weren't. These are people out of Europe. But anyway, with the transfer agreement, what ultimately happened is that these terrorist groups did take over and started killing Arabs, running them off their land, and then Harold juxtaposed that with right here in Brooklyn. The exact area was Crown Heights, which is in the middle of Flatbush and Bed-Stuy. It's right in the middle. If you're driving up Nostrand Avenue, you in Bed-Stuy. Before you know it, at some point, you're in what is considered Crown Heights. And if you keep going, you're now in Flatbush. Well, that middle area became the middle ground for a battle. And you had people like Dr. Cave, Dr. Bernal Cave and others, and he was a doctor. They had lawyers. They had businessmen that had many mansions in Crown Heights. The Jews,
See them now, the big houses.
you can see them now. What's that? Oh, they're gorgeous, right? Right, they're gorgeous. And they started intimidating blacks to give up those houses.
That's right.
They chose it for their own. They was getting the small ones anyway. You know, they walking up with suitcases to black folks with a suitcase saying, here, let me have your house, sign your house over. But with those many mansions, those professionals, it was a professional class there. they wouldn't sell as easy, so they had to intimidate them. And they used tactics that are criminal. The 7-1 precinct knew about it, did nothing. The mayor at that time was, what's the short little mayor? Bean. Bean. Bean.
Abe Bean. Yeah.
Bean. Abe Bean.
Abe Bean, yeah.
He's Jewish, right? What he did was, he called that area where they was terrorizing black folks, he called that area with Hasidim, that's the Lubavitchers. In Bushwick, those are the Satmars, and they were always at odds with each other. But the Lubavitchers took that area, and Abe Bean connected them with Israel, and gave them what is called emerging nation status. Now, that's a term that most people never heard that term. It's called emerging nation status. Somebody will say, well, what's that? Anybody know what emerging nation status is? That's when you're a new nation. Let's say you were, Panama was a part of Colombia at one time, or let's say an Pakistan, since it was more Muslims there, broke off from India. Well, when you break off, you want official status in the UN. Is that right? You want to be recognized as a nation by other nations in the United Nations. So you have what is called, you might have observer status until the other nations vote. So you have emerging, they will acknowledge you as an emerging nation. So the police were hands off and allowed black people's houses to be firebombed, black people to be intimidated, women and children, because they called that area emerging nation status. Before you leave it tonight, just say that one time. Emerging nation status.
Right.
So you know that term. They gave them an international title.
Yeah.
That's why they have a direct connect to this day with Tel Aviv. Crown Heights. That's why you see those antennas and all that stuff. And that's why you can't walk in the 770 Eastern Parkway. Try it.
No, you can't.
See what happened to you. Try it. Try to
That's why
walk
it's
in
strange.
there. Your tax dollars is paying for everything over there.
All these
but
doors
try to
can't
walk
open
there.
it.
Try
All
to
of a
walk
sudden the
there.
guy walks in and the door not locked. How you gonna walk into a place when the door ain't locked?
Yeah, so that's all I wanted to tell you is that, because Harold is saying it, but he's moving real fast with it. So when he compared what Israel is, and he called it Bed-Stuy, it really is Bed-Stuy, but let's just say it's Crown Heights for these purposes, so we'll be clear. That's the difference. And those two, and so the same way Israel was able to bomb their way and take Palestine from Palestinians, and now they are not even second class or third class citizens. They are not citizens at all. They have no say in anything in Israel. It's the same way Jews now can ride around in vehicles and pull you over.
Yeah.
And ask you what's up, you know, and I don't know if you all ever experienced that, but you know, you go through the Lubavitchers or the Satmars, they'll pull you over and ask you something, ask you a question like they police. So, you know, I'm just saying but that's the two, and the transfer agreement explains how Jews all over the world, they were telling them, if you're not living good anyway, and you don't like where you at, just go to Palestine. We got a plan. And of course that came about after their so-called European Holocaust in 1948, but what Harold was talking about back in the 30s. Jews were walking around Germany in fur coats and diamonds and gold.
Sure.
They were not being persecuted because it was some of them that financed Hitler. And he was able to talk to them and ask them X, Y, and Z, and when they could not come to agreements. What he's talking about is that he knew that the purse strings, that the foundation of the banking industry in Germany, they had a stranglehold on them. And that they could collapse the country anytime they wanted to. But I'm sorry.
Let me bring this up because it's I'm thinking. It has become clear They want, all of them are moving to Brooklyn now. Everybody's moving to Brooklyn. There's not a vacant lot in Brooklyn
Sure ain't.
that is not being built on, and even private houses, they're knocking them down and building
That's
high
right.
rises. Same thing with Jersey City. The last election, they elected a Jewish mayor, and all those areas where black folks are, they're taking those areas, and the Jews are buying them and building them. So you got to get rid of the black folk. There's a lot of black people in Brooklyn. So with pointing, claiming that, you know, they're being attacked, and they always show you a black face now that's attacking these Jews. They've been running a piece on
That's right.
television
That's
every
important.
day.
Wait, yeah.
These young black kids,
Doing something, a
Teenager.
synagogue or something.
Yeah,
a Jew in the head with a chip, and the governors come out declaring that there be zero tolerance on attacks on the Jews, and he's been everywhere today. He's been to all these synagogues, they've been having it on television. And for the last, 2 weeks, everything has been, the Jews are being attacked. So what you just said mirrors what they did in Palestine.
Okay.
So the attack is on us to get us out of here, Jersey City, Brooklyn, all over Brooklyn, because of exactly
So
what
by the
you just
media
pointed
putting
out.
our faces out there, it justifies whatever happens to us
Exactly.
in
Right.
public view.
So, just like you said, they are riding around, they stop you and everything, they're gonna have their own police force, they're gonna harass black folk until they harass us out of here.
Sure.
That's what's going on. So it's gonna build up, build up, build up. And if you look at a Jew, you're gonna be arrested.
You know what's strange? You had a point?
Nobody,
Go ahead.
nobody should be attacked. And I can say that out loud.
Right.
Nobody should be attacked. And these youth doing these things, they only hurting themselves because it's gonna escalate to everybody, even if you're not doing anything. You know, it's a stupid thing for them to do.
I
but-
believe some of them is a setup.
They don't say it, they
It'll
don't
be a
say it.
setup too.
Yeah, it is.
It'll be a setup too, because now it's on the news. Like you said, they blasting our faces, and now we are the enemy against the Jews. So anything that happens to us now, you know, it's justified because because that's all you see in the news now.
They don't say it that way, Brother Max.
Huh?
They don't say it that way.
Oh, they see it that way because they're smart.
Let me lay something on you if you don't mind. When they arrived here in 1939 on the ship to St. Louis, right? You know who stopped them from unloading those ships coming to New York? The rabbi, C. Wise. He had this big synagogue on Fifth Avenue. And you know who they went to get help? They went to Sister that built the school down in Florida, Bethune. And Naeem
Murder
Goldman went to this sister to plead with Eleanor because she and Eleanor was pretty tight.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt. And she wanted Eleanor to talk to her husband to please give these people a chance to get off that boat and settle in New York. The Jews, led by Stephen Wise, are no good. They had to reload and go to Cuba. And Cubans said, no, the gangsters in Cuba said, no, you can't come here, mess up our thing. So many of them, England took some. And many went back to Germany, and they eventually went to the concentration camp. Many did. And when they got out, those that survived, they were rescued at the end of the war by black troops, folks that looked like us, 762 Black Panther Tank Battalion.
Right.
Right.
The ones that rescued them. They've forgotten all of that. See, and so, like someone said, we have no friends. We have no friends. The only friends we got is us. That's what at the end of the Haitian War, what that guy,
Dr. Clark said that as well.
yeah,
Bookman?
Bookman told his main man, said, we have no friends. Only friends we have is us.
And the reason why he said that is because with all the hell Haitians caught they still wanted to get along with the white man.
Yeah.
And Haitians are no different than us.
Except that's a
Many of us.
But they were a different country.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, many of us, with all the hell we've caught here in our sojourn, 400 years, you know what your parents went through, your grandparents, some of us know.
Yeah.
With the parents, grandparents, and then when you go back, now you're talking about enslavement. With all of that, we still trying to find a way to get along with white folks and try to reason with them on a level where you just want to be left alone. You want the opportunity for a job. You want the opportunity for education. You want the opportunity just to get ahead. That's all. But you know, the history is replete that you're not getting that. Only a certain amount of black people are going to get jobs. Only a certain amount will be educated, and the rest gonna catch hell.
Yeah.
You know what WB called that talented 10%.
I think
And that's why Garvey was against that elitist philosophy of 10% of us doing well, and the other 90, you know, you catch hell. So I'm just saying that to say that when you look at it on that level, the Haitians. I mean, look, when you get Bookman saying, aren't you tired of breathing the same air that these devils are breathing? In other words, let's kill them all.
Yeah.
Kill them all.
Yeah.
That's why he said that. In other words, don't spare none of them. We're going to fight. Unless they drop their weapons and walk away,
Yeah.
kill them.
But we
You
should
know.
believe in singing and marching and praying.
But like
Right.
That'll change their makeup. I think it's inherently something about white folks that make them, as a collective, the way they are. As black people, as
Yes.
nature, you know, we welcoming, warming, you know,
Yeah.
so we'll give you a seat to sit down.
It's in that gene, brother, man.
Now you heard what he said?
Mhm.
He said we're warm and welcoming.
Uh-huh.
What would the people be if they lived in ice for 30, 40,000
And
years?
be cold and unwelcoming.
Cold.
Now you gotta remember, this ain't me talking. William Bradley said it. He's a white man.
That's right.
He wrote the Iceman and
Iceman and
Herald.
Herald.
He said the white man can't live with nobody.
That's right.
He said because they was in ice all for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And they developed a mindset, they kill anything walking
That's right.
and moving. Anything they want, they're not gonna pay for it. If you have it, they will take it.
Oh,
from you.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what William Bradley said. So this is not Michael saying it.
I got the book.
Drop the atomic bomb.
Sure. You know, why not? And I always ask myself, why didn't they drop that on Germany? Why didn't they just?
Germany was
you know what
white.
I'm saying? Yeah, and instead of Hiroshima and
No,
Nagasaki.
Germany was
And
white.
just think about what he's saying. He's saying, now when you think of World War II, who's the preeminent enemy? Now this side was the so-called Allied forces. The enemy was who? Who was the preeminent enemy in
Japan.
No,
No,
sir.
Germany. Germany.
No, sir. Who was the when you think of World War II, who was the bad guy?
Hitler.
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah.
Germany.
But he was not.
So the brothers asked him, why didn't they drop a bomb on
But
Germany?
Hitler, that was a phony.
Cause that's.
First of all-
Can't like that.
Hitler was a stepchild of Wall Street. Bush's daddy was his private backup.
That's
Scott Bush, right?
His insurance company, Solomon and,
Solomon Brothers?
no, Solomon, something else.
Well, the Simon brothers now, he's
Yeah.
right, but
So
it
they
did happen.
Wall firm. It's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, so Hitler and this guy and AT&T set up Hitler's communication. GM set up his automobile. I mean, his transportation job. So they were playing games.
I read somewhere that early on in New York's history, that they voted on what was the language, the official language of New York be, and it was between German and English. And
Well, it had to be England.
yeah, and Germany almost won. German almost won.
This country, for the most part, was set up on the 1215. What's that document? King John signed it, 1215.
Oh, you talking about what you call them,
You know the document.
yeah, so we discussed
Yeah,
it.
all the laws of this country It's based on that, I think.
The
Magna Carta.
Magna Carta.
Everything that goes down in this country is based on that Magna Carta. I'm signing 1215, King John. And so,
In British law, you have to remember, in British law,
I'm sorry, British law.
Yeah,
British
law
this country.
has, you could say not only is it the foundation of American jurisprudence, but it was the actual, from the whole time that they had colonies here, and America didn't, so let's say from the 1600s, but America didn't come into existence until what, 1776?
After 1789.
Well, I'm just saying, this was in America there, and you're right, if you're talking about in terms of the full concept, in other words, an American Constitution, then you're talking about around the late 1780s. There was now a Constitution, and then the final step was to elect a president, which was George Washington, based on the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution that was just developed. And so you're right. So, that was now America. The concept was now in fruition. So in the 1780s. So up until that time, everything was all British. Anytime you went into a courtroom, believe it or not, these guys still had on the wigs.
Yeah.
We all know, we've all seen the wigs, right?
All over Africa, they wear them up to the day.
They're doing it in Barbados right
Especially in
now.
Nigeria.
Wow.
And Barbados is still doing it.
They still do
yeah?
that?
Yeah.
So we know what the wigs are, right?
No.
And you ever seen the wigs?
I've seen it with.
Okay.
I don't really represent.
But it's just like a representation, it's a holdover. In other words, it's vestiges of slavery, or you can call it badges of slavery. If you've been enslaved 100 years and they let you out, or you get your freedom, and you set up an educational system, the odds are you're going to set it the way it was set up. You're going to do things the way they did. If you see the white man beating this woman, you're going to beat yours.
That's all you know.
Yeah, but that's all you know. And that's what it's based on. So the Magna Carta, and Harold is absolutely correct. Everything was based on British law. And then over the course of years, they started adding things. Obviously, New York State, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania, all these other states started adding things to state laws. And then obviously federal laws came into existence. So now you could say it's American law and jurisprudence, but it was all based on British law.
Yeah.
Then, I wanted to touch on something you had said earlier. We was talking about Skip Gates, and he was talking
Well,
about...
he was, but go ahead.
Yeah. Pseudo-philosophers and
And that was him that used that term, Ray Ray.
It bothers
like
me
that.
every time I see he has a little program on Channel 13 where he's supposed to take you back, and he's talking about the real scholars are fake scholars, and to me it's like you follow the dollars. Where does he get the money to produce these type of things? They say that, Gates, they say
See, I told y'all that everybody's going to contribute. Harold's not going to be on the spot. You hear what this brother's saying? In other words, what they do is they making him. He ain't nobody.
No, right.
They're making, y'all got that? In case any of y'all are fans of Skip Gates.
I'm sorry.
He's just being
Oh, he
made.
definitely got a lot of fans.
He has nothing
might not be
on
here.
the Dr. Benz and Dr. Clarks of this world. He could not handle Dr. Jeffries, and they know each other. They know each other well, and neither of them can stand each other. And now and if y'all know Dr. J, he love everybody. He ain't got a problem with nobody. Even he don't like Skip Gates, but Skip Gates is the one, you have to remember, brother, he is the one willing to undergird white supremacy. And he will he will soften the blows of historical wrongs levied against our people. So when he describes slavery, when he described everyday life on a plantation, it ain't as bad. When Skip Gates finished with something, he'll
sorry for the master.
Right. He'll make you feel sorry for him. Because I think it was Harold that was mentioning massacres, and no, it was Ray mentioned massacres earlier. I don't know if he was here then at the time, but he was mentioning massacres, various massacres that had occurred. I've heard Skip Gates talk about those massacres. They wasn't that bad when he talked about it. Now we talk about massacres where an entire town of black people were killed. When Skip Gates finished with the story, it was six or seven people. A few people got shot. Got hung.
During the draft riots, the black orphanage on 42nd Street.
Yeah, that's right.
Burn.
Burn them down, yeah.
They chased us through them streets and was killing us like.
Yeah, burn kids.
The atmosphere
Yeah,
is there now. During the draft riots, the Irish just came to, we was running for our lives.
Yeah, they set fire to children
I
in that
didn't even
orphanage.
see that.
You know, and yeah.
I was
42nd
all
Street
my
and Fifth
life.
Avenue.
Yeah.
That's
They would call it Colored Girls Orphan Home.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like the 1800s, right?
1863.
All right, 3 minutes, in 5 minutes, we're gonna break, and then we have some refreshments.
Mike, this includes everybody. Mike, you mentioned these Haitian folks, but those that wanted to be white, they were the mulatto folks.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
And, you know, they really wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
hang out with the white folks and be accepted and all that kind of thing. See? But the brothers themselves were hellfire fighters. In fact,
Oh yeah.
show you how bad they were. Simon Bolivar from Bolivia started the Haitian Revolution
Right.
to set up Bolivia.
Yeah.
That's how mean these brothers
That's
were.
right.
They, and so,
Now you hear what he's saying now. He's telling you there was a class of Haitians that was collaborating with white folks.
Yeah.
You gotta understand that.
And it's been a tactic white folks have used.
So is
since they
it?
figured it out.
Now I know you heard that old saying from down south, all your skin folk ain't your kin
That's
folk.
right.
That's right.
Sure.
That's what we talking about here.
But check out this story. They're going to have coffee, I suspect.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was the French folks, white folks, gave the women, mulatto women, a party. Come on in, you drink all you want, have a good time. I think Clemson had a film on this. And you know, they all had a good time and shouting and had drinking. Then all of them was given a gift.
Christoph, right? During the Haitian Revolution.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
And when the women opened their gift, their husband's head was in that box.
Wow. You don't understand that? This is real.
I mean, this is real talk here.
Here you got some ultra high yellow sisters. They having a good time partying with white folks.
Yeah.
Till they open the box, they gifts.
And that was French.
It was their black husband's heads in it.
That was in the book, in any book, and I think Edwin Scobie was the one that brought that information out. Any book you're gonna get on the Haitian Revolution is Jacob Crothers, The Irritated Genie, where
That's
Genie
right.
got his name
Was
from.
it one? What was it?
Right.
Jacob Crothers, The Irritated Genie.
Okay. I read a book.
And Christoph
I'm sorry, go
hated,
ahead.
Christoph hated everybody.
There was one called a Black Jacobins.
Like
Jackson.
Jackson. Like Jackson.
But they all got the
It's a
stuff
good read,
from,
too.
they all
Yes,
got
sir.
that, they all got that information from Crothers, bad boy, out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So you understand that how hard a real revolution is.
Question.
Because oftentimes your revolution is not going to be successful. In other words, your fight for freedom will not be successful until you deal with your own. If you don't deal with your own, that's why you have to understand, how do you address your own when you see them still trying to find a way to love white folks in the middle of a battle.
Yeah.
And that's why Bookman said, ain't you tired of breathing the same air they breathe? In other words, they gotta die.
Dr. Ben said something like that in one of his books, that, black traders should be shot. We ain't gonna get nowhere until we deal with the evil in our midst.
Well, look what the brothers in South Africa did.
Sure.
They put a tie around him and lit that oil in that tie and set it on fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
Look what they did to the
We
brother,
getting out of that.
the brother in the Congo, Patrice Lumumba.
Lumumba, yeah.
You know, he was turned
But
on by the general.
yeah, white folks had him killed though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so
We'll
we
see how
done,
you fight.
we're gonna have a little break, we got refreshments in here.
Yeah, I don't know,
Shit, I don't know.
just want to go there for
Let's
those that
start
might
from a
want to
little break, and,
know history of New York.
That's right.
I really want to see you
Yeah,
together. So, yeah, and that's where I was at. You know, but I like, when we was talking about the disseminating of information, how now we got, but I remember when I was coming up and BET came out, I was so
back
hyped.
from the lunch break,
You know?
yeah.
I was so hyped about BET, you know, now we got a platform, now some information can be spread, you know, and what did you get? You know, booty shaking and you know, music. So and then you get some other black platforms, so-called black platforms, and you don't hear, I mean, I could ask the random person who was Dr. Clark, who was Dr. Vader, they have no idea, you know, who these people are. You know, and that's like, I figure it's up to us to get that out there. Now, these cats are fighting at the table to be represented in media. You know, everybody wants to be a media mogul, you
Right.
know, own their own label and all that. But what information are we really passing out? And, you know, because I got to a situation with a friend of mine who was talking about, well, the situation was conversation, about Wesley Snipes, you know, and how he financed that long journey, the long walk or the long journey, that documentary.
The
Great Mighty Walk.
Yeah, the Great Mighty Walk.
Yeah.
How he financed that personally. And I was like, you know, why doesn't Diddy, you know, Puff, whatever his name is,
Puff Diddy.
do something like that? You know, I mean, these cats with these mega platforms, why can't they do something like that? You know?
That's a question?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
Because the money, they lose their money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So in other words, you answering your own question.
Yeah, you know, but I'm pointing out that
Right.
it should be, instead of us supporting these people who are taking this money to shut up and sit on their thumbs, you know, but we still give them our money. You know, and when do we decide that, you know, who the hell is gonna, you know, stand up? You know, you gotta make people stand up. You know, I don't think very few people of a different type of situation would stand up and jeopardize their livelihood to say what's right. You know?
It wasn't always that way, though, brother man. It wasn't always that way.
Nah, I know, you know what I'm saying, but now that white money has influenced everything, you know, white money has influenced everything now. You know, like, I was talking to a young lady about, Reverend Al. I don't know the man personally, you know what I'm saying, but, you know, nobody calls for boycott, you know, because I think the only thing white supremacy understands is money and power. You know, money and power. And if you ain't got no power, you know, they ain't got, you can march and sing and vote all you want, but that ain't gonna change nothing. But then, you know, Reverend Al ain't trying to change it yet. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to go there because that was so easy to go there. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. And we still,
Must
yeah,
read.
we need to and we
Must
still
read.
back these people. You know, we still give them our money. You know, and I try to tell my kids, for instance, who I may have some kind of influence on, I may not, but they're grown. You know that your money counts. You know, no matter what they tell you about your vote, your money counts, and where you spend it means a whole lot. You know, and if you give your money to these people that ain't got to give you nothing, you know, because Claude Anderson, I think,
With Dr.
he talks about that, you know, if you're gonna vote, what is your vote gonna give you? You know, what are you gonna get?
Nothing.
So, you know, if you ain't got nothing, you know, ain't no politician gonna do jack for you
No, not.
if you ain't doing nothing for them.
Well, right, and basically what he's saying is that, it's not that he's telling you not to vote.
Right.
He said he just wants you to know that
Leverage them.
because you vote, don't think you completed the job.
Yeah.
No.
There's still work to be done.
No.
And since Sister Deidre's here, what we doing, we did it differently. Harold was in the middle, but he's not carrying the entire lecture by itself. We've all been contributing during the course of the night, so it's an intimate setting, so to speak, as it's been described. So we just flipped it around, sort of, so it's fluid. So you can participate at any time. Right now, I know you eat, but at any time you want to participate, you know, feel free.
Right.
And Harold is basically sort of the centerpiece, so to speak, in that he set the foundation. He's covered quite a few areas. I guess once the tape is available, you
I
get
had
that.
some book here, the
Whoever got any Harold books, please return them.
Black Pioneers and Black Abolitionists.
Right, those are pamphlets.
Yeah, where are they?
Well, I know I saw Brother Clemson with him, so.
No, I didn't.
I'm just playing with you. I'm just playing with you.
You let him get upset about that book.
There's a couple of things I wanted to say, but I hear what you're saying, brother. We've done a lot for ourselves too. It's not always dependent on these white folks. I think the reason it's done today because we have been hoodwinked into thinking white folks are superior. They are not.
Thank you.
Nowhere in history can you show me where a black segment or black man and a white man on a level playing field and a white boy came on top. Don't happen. Don't happen. And for example, I'm going to skip around a little bit if it's all right.
What, the white man couldn't beat Joe Louis?
You got to be Joe.
You might not have been feeling good that day.
Joe Louis being like he owned something. Being like he stole something.
Right.
Like you own.
No,
I mean, that white guy, that wasn't legit when he beat, when he
Max
beat,
Spelling.
Matt Smelling?
Matt
No,
Spelling.
not Max Spelling. That's the Brown Bomber. I'm trying to think of the white guy's name. I'm trying to think, is it Jeffries? The one that beat Jack Johnson?
Oh,
Well, whatever, no, Jeffrey, he took the title.
he took a dive for Jeff.
Yeah.
Took a dive for him because Johnson was his man. He wanted to take a white girl across the state line. He did that. You know, and,
He did more than just taking a white girl for a state line.
Oh, that-
He had a steady diet right
Tyson.
there.
What
but
about-
see, what's worse in that, you're right on that point. But what's even worse than that, he beat a white boy damn near to death for the world to see. It was so bad that the boxing match was so bad, the police stopped it, not the referee, the police stopped it.
Y'all got that?
A boxing
Hello?
Boxing match.
The police stopped the boxing match because he was, I guess in today's terms, you would call it taunting.
He
In
was.
other words, you can finish him, but he wouldn't finish him.
Wouldn't do that.
His corner at the time, since Harold glossing over it, his corner was begging him, Jack Johnson, knock the guy out. Jack Johnson wouldn't knock him out. He wanted to punish the dude. The dude was talking a lot of stuff. So Jack Johnson, instead of knocking him out, he's tearing him up with body shots.
Yeah.
He's in it with body shots. And so when he would hit him with a heavy body shot, the white boy would try to go down. He'd pick him up. And Dan said, no, you ain't laying down. No. So his corner was begging and said, come on, Jack, knock him out. Come on, don't do that. Because the white people were enraged. It was a crowd of, you know, what it was in the football field.
Yeah, Reno Nevada.
So it was so many people there. These white people looked like they wanted to kill Jack Johnson.
Hollywood.
So his corner was scared. They like, Jack, knock him out. He wouldn't do it. He did that several times. And then had the nerve after beating the white man and standing over him, looking at him, and when his corner always told him, look, when you beat the guy and knock him out, don't stand over him. You know? And that's why Joe Louis never did that.
Yeah.
When Joe Louis knocked the white man out, he was taught because of what happened with Jack Johnson. Don't stand over him and look at him.
Right.
Like, now what? Now what?
Yeah.
They even, they stopped the film, you know, before, the fight was finished.
Yeah, and so the only fighter after Jack Johnson, the first fighter to actually beat a white man and stand over him and throw his hands up was Ali.
Yep.
But the times had changed a little bit. But Ali knew Jack Johnson's history, so he would intentionally knock a dude out and drop him, and then he would do this. He would put his feet together and do this all in one motion. In other words, that's for Jack Johnson, you know, but he got away with it. But when Jack Johnson did it, which was, you know, 60 years earlier, you know, white folks wasn't having it.
Yeah.
He wasn't arrested, but his corner had white guys. They would actually have to get him through a crowd where it was, you know, a little iffy there.
Yeah.
And that's
Because you know what the truth be told, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting you.
It's all right.
But he came in there with two white women on his arm. And his corners told him, look, man,
So they already
you
moved
can
on.
meet them after the fight, You know, don't bring him to the fight. He was so bold. This was a bold black man. He walked into a fight, all white people in the fight. The few black people that paid for the fight was way up there in the, you know, what you call that?
Bleachers.
The bleachers.
They ain't
The
gonna be no-
nosebleed section. They could be way up on top, and he walking in with a white whore, one on each arm. They were whores.
They were so
On each
pissed they
arm.
made that
And
law.
then when the fight was over, you would think that he would just walk out with his corner people. You know, come here, baby, what y'all doing?
And there was a law against Trump going across
They
state
made
lines.
that-
Well, it was the Mann Act.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Mann Act
They do
was
that with Bobby
subdivision.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Subdivision
Yeah,
of the
that's
Fugitive
what they
Slave
got
Act.
him on.
So you know that's what they got him on. But you know what Harold was saying is absolutely right. You know at the time Jesse Owens, you had you know, of course the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, and all of them. You know they were told that, you know, don't taunt a white man. You can win, but don't taunt him. So most of the sports are dominated, the ones that black people participate to this day, by blacks. And one that y'all don't never talk about, that sister in gymnastics, what she's doing,
Oh, yeah.
Simone,
Yeah.
Simone Biles,
Simone
what she's
Biles.
doing right
Yeah.
now is nothing short of incredible.
That's right.
For 6 years, she has dominated
That's right.
gymnastics.
That's right.
And she's doing things that no one has ever
That's
done
right.
before. She's making it look so casual. She's the best athlete in the world. And nobody mentions her.
No.
If there was a white girl doing what she was doing,
Y'all over the news.
she would be worth
But they
200 or
didn't, they
300
didn't have
million
no
dollars.
problem, they didn't have no problem. First bad thing happened. First thing she did wrong in front of the public during the last Olympics is start looking at that white boy, and they had it over.
But that's what they do. That's what they
And
do.
then number two,
They send them in.
they hurried up and, when her brother got killed in Cleveland, she was doing some stuff, they hurried up and put it on there.
And they had sisters on social media about three or 4 years ago when she's kicking everybody all over the world's butt. And they started talking about, sis, if you come to an event and the whole world is watching, you know, get a perm. You know, at that point, she was just wearing her hair natural. You know, she wears, you know, perms and all that now. And this was sisters criticizing her. In other words, come on, look white.
And this is what I was telling the brother about, how the indoctrination and the learned behavior that we have. Sometimes we don't even know how indoctrinated we are.
Yeah,
That's
You know,
right.
And it's like people just jump on other, nobody drag black people harder than black people.
That's
You
right.
know, and it's like crazy. Yeah.
Trying to be accepted.
Sure. You know, and you're not qualified or you're not good unless white society say you are.
Well, that was
Honey,
Norfolk
this
State.
is real hair. This is hair.
Hey,
Your
that's a
hair
good
doesn't
starting
have
point.
this hair.
You had a,
There it is.
you had a point there, sister?
Well, Harold, when
Yes,
I
I said about the
interrupted you,
hair.
okay, no, go ahead, because I don't want you to lose your point.
Oh, no,
Harold.
the,
That you're saying when we on a,
Oh,
We're on a
we're
level
not
playing
always,
field.
dependent on, this white boy, because if you recall, in 1865, when we were so-called set free, shortly thereafter, around 1870, we began to elect congresspersons
Sure.
and senators and that kind of thing, see?
Instruction.
And he has a pretty decent book on it, to give you a guide anyway. But what happened between 1865, and check these numbers out, and 1900, black folk that just come out of slavery had the highest literacy rate in the country. Black folk,
Sure.
see? And I think it was like 87 point something literacy rate.
that's incredible.
And what happened, those persons that went to Senate and Congress, whatever, they wrote legislation to make education free for everybody.
That's right.
We established our own banks. I think Capital Bank was the first one. I think the next one was the Lincoln Savings Bank, the sister down in Richmond, Walker. What's the last name? First name? Lena Walker. And there was another one. We took over, we were about to take over baseball, but the white boys refused to play
Sure.
baseball with brothers on the team. Fleet Walker and his brother was with the Toledo Red Hens, I think it was. But one day the white boys knew what was coming down the pike. So now we're not going to compete with these black men. So we took over horse racing. 1875 to 1904. 19 of the 25 races, black men won.
It's a good book, The $40 Million Slave.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The $40 Million Slave is an excellent book that tells you about the black jockeys that was,
That's right.
and how they just took the Negro League.
Absolutely.
Rube Walker, I believe, black owner, and they came in there and did some shenanigans to get, and that's how they crushed.
And what?
But every time Jack Johnson wound up knocking somebody out and doing that thing, doing that time, we caught the whip.
Sure.
Oh, we
A
caught
lot of
the whip.
hangings, right? After every fight.
After we caught
After
the
every
whip.
fight, black people got hung.
And Joe Lewis too.
I just wanted to
Joe Lewis too.
ask the question,
Right.
I guess for everybody here. At what point was it that we, I don't know how to put this, but integration is where I'm going with this.
Never been integrated.
Yeah, I'm just saying that movement at that time. Because like you said, we had our own businesses,
Yeah.
we supported our own,
Mhm.
and we didn't need confirmation or, affirmation from white folks until that happened.
That was around mid-1870s, they had that first integration thing. So-called integration.
Well, let me just say this, Harold. There has always been, because you're looking for a set time, a period in which that happened. It's always been black people that does not want to separate themselves from white people.
I agree with that.
And I'm just saying it ain't right or wrong. It's people in this room that do not want to be separate from white people. Some of us want to speak to white people going to work, coming from work, or sitting next to them at work. So that's not new. There's some among us that have no problem if they don't see a white person for a week.
Yeah.
It don't bother us one bit. But, it varies. Some people want to sleep with them. And that's real. My man Charles, we went to high school together. He knows we had friends that went with white girls in South Shore. In Charles, what would happen if you try to walk outside the South Shore and you walk the wrong way instead of to the bus stop?
Richard,
That's right, you're gonna get your butt whipped.
Is that right?
obviously,
Yeah.
mind the stitches. After school.
You walked the wrong way out of South Shore at that time. You had to go to the bus, and the bus took you to the train. There wasn't no train for us to get on. You had to take the bus. You go right to that bus stop when you get out of school. You mess around and walk in the other direction. The only place you could walk out of South Shore was right across the street into the projects, because they had some projects there. Any other direction, you gonna get it. Yeah, right.
Richmond Hill too.
That's Canarsie.
Richmond Hill's the same.
But to answer your question, I'm just saying, and certainly Harold, Chip, and I'm just saying, that mindset has always been there. Now, I know what you're really asking. You're really asking, when did that become a movement? The civil rights movement was an integrationalist movement. Now, did it do some good things where we all benefit? Of course. But it was an integrationalist movement. Some of the strongest people among us is not as well known. So whether you're going way back to slavery times with the Martin Delaney's, and you go with Martin Delaney, Bishop McNeil Turner, and all of them that were stone cold nationalists. They wanted to work with black people to uplift black people. They're not going to be as known as a Fred Douglass, who believed in working with white people. Fred was brilliant, he was strong, I ain't taking nothing from him. But he believed his greatest work was with white people.
For their liberation.
He wasn't down, because them brothers tried to get him, Delaney and others tried to get him to work with them. He wouldn't do it. Just think of people like Malcolm, and think of Republic of New Africa, think of Black Panther Party. think of Malcolm and all of them that was on the Black Power side.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't work with NAACP, Urban League, CORE, SCLC, Dr. King's organization. They didn't work with them. Because you have to remember, the civil rights movement was controlled and financed by white people.
Sure.
And they're not going to allow their dollars to circulate with the Black Panther Party.
But they had the power. They had the power. So you had the people of power.
And yeah, you're right, the power, but also any victories we got was given to the civil rights movement. So you have to understand that and remember that point, that no matter what, whether it's the right to vote, the right to travel, getting on buses, socially, theaters, restaurants and all that stuff, they're gonna give those victories strictly to the civil rights movement. When civil rights legislation was passed, Civil Rights Act, Voters' Rights Act, fair housing, who you see front and center? Dr. King and them. Because the white man understands image and knows it's more important to have them in the room. I'm not saying everybody in that room was a sellout, even though most of them were. They all weren't, but that's who he's gonna give the victory to.
Sure.
Nixon always said, reward the Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
You know, don't short him.
Yeah.
You know, reward him. Give him some money.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and because he understood that. So the civil rights movement was an integrationist movement, because anybody would say, well, Dr. King cut his teeth on what? Montgomery Improvement Association? The Montgomery bus boycott. Couldn't them preachers have organized with all those churches they had? Couldn't they have bought the bus line?
Oh, big time.
They could have bought their own bus line.
Yeah.
But that's not what these movements are about.
That's right.
Because if they would have bought their own bus line, you wouldn't need to let them white buses go by empty, and we got on black buses. But you know, I'm just saying.
Well, you know what you're saying is the same thing with Martin Luther King. You had Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. A lot of people listen. We go on Martin Luther King because they didn't want to deal with Malcolm X.
Yeah, but the civil rights movement never acknowledged that. Malcolm understood that. Malcolm once whispered to. He went down south. Dr. King was in jail. Malcolm spoke on the same podium. He was sitting right next to Coretta Scott King. And when he was telling her some of the things that he was going to say, she was like, well, you know, that's a little rough. He said, well, I'm trying to help your husband.
Well, they still had
He
Christianity.
said, you understand? He said, I'm helping your husband. He said, well, what I'm saying, they ain't going to agree with you. So guess what? Your husband going to end up getting out of jail, and they're going to give the victory to him. He said, I'm helping you. Now, you know the same thing with Dr. King's so-called idol. Who was his idol? Who the idol? You said it.
Who Gandhi?
Say it louder so they can hear it.
Gandhi.
Cameras on. Gandhi.
Gandhi, yeah.
Okay, Gandhi was the guy that so-called got the independence for India from England. Okay, Gandhi is one man, right? So he fasted. He fasted. He did acts, civil disobedience. Okay, but what was behind it? You have millions of people in India, Indians, that wanted to fight. So if I got people behind me that don't want to fight, I could look like the nice guy. If I got 100 people behind me that's getting ready to go to the gun, I could come to you and say, look, man, I'm trying to talk to you. What you want to do? We gonna talk? You gonna let me in the door? Because if you don't let me in the door, I'm gonna walk away. And those 100 cats, they coming and shooting. So that's what I'm just saying with the civil rights movement. So when you asked about integration, the civil rights movement was an integrationist movement. And even though we've always been in close proximity to white folks, we had to fight to go to their restaurants. We had to fight to get on their buses. But Harold pointed it out when he said, we had banks. We had credit unions.
That's right.
We had independent black schools.
That's right.
So we had all them things. We shouldn't be fighting for integration. We should be fighting to increase what we got, strengthen what we got. But you know, we got people that fell in love with that camera. That camera's a drug now. It can be very intoxicating.
And in that book, before we go back to Hal, remember when I told you I went to the Kwanzaa thing at the African burial ground? And I brought that book. I should have brought it, I'll bring it next time. In the early 1900s, and it ties in, like Mike said, all those successful economic that we had, the system crushed it. And it had in that book, Slavery in New York. And I'll mark it off. They wanted to make sure that blacks would not come to any economic stability. Yeah. What was the name of that book, Hal?
This is the hidden history of New York. And it names the slave owners in New York City.
That for sale?
I beg your pardon?
No, this is personal.
No.
Man, are you kidding me? That would have been more than books.
It's like I find it on Amazon.
But
I
this,
want to say,
go ahead.
I want to say something I think is critically important.
Okay.
Because most young people ask me all the time, if we were so smart and we built pyramids and we did things that no other people could do, how come we are the footstool of humanity today? Now, I've been looking at fleas and how environment produces the way people think, and for a great deal of their ability. A flea is he's a magnificent creature. A flea can jump 100 times his height. A flea. Because you can hardly see a flea, you know. Flea is a little fella. And let me tell you, 100 times his height is about 7 inches, because he's so small. But if you put that flea in a 3-inch jar, it will jump, because it can jump 30,000 times without stopping. It just keep jumping. But 3 inches jar with a top on it, and when he jumped, his head hit the top. In a short while, the flea will stop jumping and can only jump 3 inches. Now, what makes it, a phenomenon is that the children of the flea, for generations to come, can only jump 3 inches. They can't jump 7 inches no more. If you took a 14-foot shark and put him in an aquarium, well, potentially he would grow 14 feet. But if you take that baby, put it in an aquarium, it's only going to grow about 4 feet. Its offspring for generations to come will only grow 4 feet. So what I was trying to think is, how do you reconstitute the flea and the shark so that it'll grow 14 feet again? Because that's us. We have been put in an environment to our struggle. I mean, we're not the people that we were. We have been put in an environment that has produced a midget that used to be a giant. Now, how do we now go back to growing giants? Yes,
sir.
That's because see, we're in this predicament. It ain't that we want to be. We don't even know. We don't even know that inside of us we're gods. When Professor Small said we are gods having a human experience, he's correct. I think the one thing that we've got to really understand deeply is the role that religion plays in our oppression. Because you can't worship the white man and get free of him.
Mm-hmm.
The white man is who had you in the jar
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
with the top on it.
Right.
And as long as you're praying to him, you're praying to the top of the jar.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's deep.
You gotta get out of the religion.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to get out of the religion is really quite simple.
Mm-hmm.
We all breathe in air. The same air I'm breathing, you breathing. It's going through you, it goes through every atom in your body, and you can't live but 5 to 7 minutes without air.
Mm-hmm.
You are air. It's blowing. Same air, we all breathe it. The water you drink, your body is 72% water. It's the same water that's falling from the heavens. It's running through the oceans. It's running through the streams. You drink it. It runs through every atom. And you go to the bathroom and pee it out. It's running through you. You are water. You eat the earth. The earth has all of the elements. Zinc, copper. You can't exist
Oh.
without all the elements in the earth. I mean, you might exist, but you're going to be sick.
Mm-hmm.
You have problems. So we are the earth, and we are the sun. The sun, the energy of the sun is what beats your heart. The energy of the sun is what pulls all living out of the earth. You are truly nature. Nature is always transforming. It's always in a state of change.
Right.
It moves in waves. Waves that move so fast that, I mean, like the light from the sun reaches the earth
Okay.
in 8 minutes. It's 92 million miles away. It takes 8 minutes for that light to reach the sun. But that's a snail's speed compared to the energy that's moving from the Creator. It's everywhere at the same time. And the universe is billions of times the size of what we can imagine. It's
Infinite.
infinite. That is us. That's the giant that's in the jar. And our ancestors understood that, and they laid it all out for us, and they called our way of life my art, because that's the way we stay balanced. With my art, you live truth, justice, harmony, balance, and that was our culture.
That's right.
And that's why it lasted for thousands of years. And we knew how to grow the tree of joy, of love. This society don't know what love is. They don't know what joy is. They can't
European
experience
version of
balance.
it.
I mean, it's a Trump. This is a Trump society. These people are evil.
Yeah.
And that's what is manifested in this dispensation of time. But it is our time. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let you
Go
go.
ahead, brother.
When I went to the Million Man March, 1995, I believe it was,
Yes.
came back and cut the TV on that night, and Tom Brokaw gave his analysis of the Million Man March. And then he said, there was a new star found in the heavens tonight.
Right.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the Million Man March. That's just, oh.
Wow. Wow.
I got on the phone and called Dr. Charles Finch, because he's an astrologer down at Morehouse. And he said, yeah, it has everything to do with the Million Man March. He said, that star is Cephas. It's the Ethiopian star. It stands for the rise of the black man. It is our season. We're coming around. This is why all this is going on. The white man knows this is our season. And he can't be God, but he figured he can get these niggas' ass, and since we're the chosen of God, if he kick our ass hard enough and long enough, he can keep us in the jungle. And so they're trying to take us out.
Trying to sometime.
because his time is up and
I
ours.
have something to say to what he was saying. I'm not gonna say too much because
You have to-
I have to get I have to get permission to speak on certain things that I have knowledge of. Wow. I was telling Mr. Ray about a little bit of it. But anyway, what you were saying about astrology is true. New Year's Eve is definitely not true. I'm going to elaborate on that for a couple of minutes. And the Bible. The Bible, I would like for you all to understand very important about the Bible, what you were saying. The Bible is like has anybody ever did acting in a play, anything like that?
Yeah.
Now, I want you just to visualize what I'm getting ready to say. The Bible is a book that's been written like for a story. And the characters in the story, the ones who wrote the book, the author, or whatever you want to call them, who wrote this book. So when they wrote this book, maybe, several thousand years ago, maybe?
1604 it started.
Oh, okay. Constantine, correct? Or
I'm right.
a little further back than Constantine.
Well, it goes back to the Council of
Well,
Nicaea,
yeah, well,
Yeah.
325 AD,
Right.
but go ahead.
Okay. The person who demolished, first of all, the real history of what we're supposed to do on this planet. All right, this Constantine guy killed. Well, I don't want to talk too much, like I said. But anyway, the book, okay, is a story that was written by a person who took and made this book and put in what's going to happen. That's why we're having a hard time getting out of religion, because they believe, the people see that this guy Constantine has the original stuff in it mixed with their story. And what they did with this book is to confuse the people, like for instance, the beginning of time, Adam and Eve. There's no such thing as Adam and Eve in the first place. They took and they turned that around. But they have stuff in there that mixes in with the original text of scriptures with their story, which is like 90%. And when they say that you're going to have to get the shard or take the shot for getting 666, you heard about the Bible, right? Okay, this is all what they're put in there to confuse the mind of the people. And you believe that because you're not thinking that that book is written by an author, and the author was the person who wrote it, who was the
Well, it's not
it
one
was
person.
the Bible.
There's a
No, it's
There's a
not
lot
one
of people
person.
that, you know, just-
Negative people, the wrong people, the people who's teaching dishonesty. Because
Well,
European,
let me just
Jesus,
clarify
there's no
one thing,
Jesus
sis.
anyway. There's no
With
Jesus.
respect to the Bible or religion,
I can't
period,
talk about this.
you have to remember that our people are spiritual.
That's right.
And the white man understands that he's not spiritual.
No, he's not.
We are spiritual. So there's going to be a belief system among us. So the white man understands he might as well control it. Because we are not going to walk around, the majority of us, not having a faith and that there's something bigger than us.
Right,
And
but
that
they
there's
believe-
some creating
Right,
that created all
but
of
what
this.
they believe, yes, but
That's what
that
I'm saying.
story, that's what I'm trying to show you. The book is made by an author, it's a story,
It's
like
not one
movies.
author. A lot of people did it,
Exactly,
but it's the
what I'm
Council of
trying- what I'm
Nicaea.
trying to
where
explain
they-
to you
Go ahead.
is that it's written to confuse the mind of the people. The
Everything
Bible
is
was
there to
written.
confuse our mind.
Exactly. So you can't let it do that, because if you do, that's what's going to keep you deaf, dumb, and blind in that religion. 'Cause
Okay, I would just respond.
you'll never come
I
out.
understand what you're saying, but I respond by saying we have scholars, we have warrior scholars, intellectual scholars that embrace that book, and they were fierce fighters. It's just a question of numbers. Some people are going to take that book and use it because of their own cowardice and say, well, I can't fight, I can't do this, that wouldn't be right, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek. And some people will take that liberation theology, will take that Bible and fight.
But
They
you still
used
don't
it
you don't
in
understand
Central
what
and
I'm
South
trying to
America.
explain. Yeah, what you're saying is fine, but what I'm trying to get you to understand.
Yes.
Let's say that you want to write a book. Have you ever wrote a book before?
No.
Okay, that's why maybe you don't understand.
Okay.
Okay, when you write a book, you're the author of the book, is that correct? You're the one who's gonna put in that book what you want it to be, with the help of others, of
Yeah,
course.
but the reason
Okay?
why I'm saying
But
that,
you
sister,
can't,
is
no,
for a
let me
reason.
finish now.
Go ahead.
This is what I'm trying to show you, this is what happened. And all religions, that's why I could tell you that all religions are fake. Because these people who are involved with the so-called.
So you're saying every religion?
Every
African
religion that came
European
down
religion?
to Constantine, which is Roman, which is in the beginning when it first got changed
So are
over,
all
are
religions,
fake.
are all religions fake?
Every last single, they're not,
Okay,
nothing
fine.
spiritual.
Then you're one of the people that will not embrace faith. They're the majority of
I'm
Africans.
spiritual.
Okay, the majority of Africans are gonna embrace something.
Because they don't
It's gonna
know.
be this or that.
Because they're not thinking.
They are thinking.
No, they're not. And now if you take a book that some other person wrote after killing 70 or 80 million people to change the history to what you
Okay,
have
all
called
right.
a
well,
Bible,
Then what would you
that's
suggest?
what they did.
What would you suggest?
okay? What I suggest.
Because I believe, because if there wasn't no Bible, could they have enslaved us
First
without
of
the
all, the
Bible?
universal creator is not going to, we're the first people on this planet. But they're trying to make it look like it's them because they flipped the script.
Okay, but did they use any other source other than the Bible? Because the
They
Bible is
use
not
many-
all encompassing.
They use many different sources, why you have so many different religions. They try so much of everything, but
Okay,
all of it
sis.
is fake.
Okay, what I'm asking
There
you
was only one
is,
true one, and that was back during our time, thousands and thousands of years ago.
so you started out saying that all religions are fake.
They
Now,
are, they are.
are the religions of Africa fake?
The religions of Africa are fake now because we don't have the original documents. The ones who have the original documents
Do we
right
have pieces
now
of it?
is European. They have it. They're not
Okay,
gonna let
okay.
you know that.
Okay, so when you see the Dr. Benz of the world who taught the Ashwan Kwesi and all these other ones,
Right.
they don't have some of the truth or most of the truth?
No, the truth was taken from us. The reason why we know some stuff is
But
because
aren't they in text? When you go to
not all
Kemet,
of it is in
when you go to Kemet, okay.
Some of
So then in other words, we might as well
It's
all
in
pack it
Egypt.
in?
Why you
Are
think they're in Egypt doing what they're doing over
Okay,
there?
but sis, I'm trying to come to a conclusion with this. I'm just want us to walk out of this room better because
Okay,
it's
me too.
easy. An easy thing to say without any research is
Okay.
all religions are fake.
They all,
If you a Christian, if you're into Judaism, if you're into Islam,
well, I can't.
you're
go deeper
being
than that.
fake.
I mean, I can, but I can't.
But this is
because I have to get
what I'm
permission.
saying. In other
But
words, I tell you
it
what,
is.
because you're gonna keep saying the same point. What was fake about New Year's?
Okay, New Year's, let me explain that, is not until March. Do anybody in here agree with that? Do everybody agree, first of all, with January 1st being the New Year? New Year's,
You said New Year, New Year?
New Year's Day.
New Year's.
New Year, okay.
Do
Today,
everybody agree in here now that New Year's Day is today? Yes or no?
Well, it
Everybody
depends who
agrees?
you read, sister.
To me, it's irrelevant.
No,
Make
it's
the point,
not.
man.
No, it's not
No, it's
because.
not.
Okay, man, go ahead, make your
All
point.
right.
Then let it make.
New Year's Eve and New Year's Day does not start in January. It
When
starts
does it
in
start?
March.
So, man.
March what?
March 19, sometime 18 or 20.
Well, who's
It depends on the equinox.
Okay,
Okay.
fine. She wants to get astrological.
This is a fact.
Okay, but in other words, make it germane, make it relative to our
Okay.
existence.
Well, to
What
our
is, does that
existence,
affect anything?
yes, we shouldn't be celebrating. That's why I asked
Who
Ray. was he
celebrating?
gonna be- Most people in this country
And what does that
celebrate.
celebrate translate to?
Okay, I don't know. I don't know because I don't celebrate.
Oh, okay, this is what I'm asking you. Let me let me make it plain as plain can be. If I am Dr. So-and-so, would I lose my doctorship if I continue on the 1st, or will I enhance my doctorship by doing it in March? Am I a better person?
No, I didn't.
Am I more knowledgeable now?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that because a lot of people don't know. The real celebration of the New Year is not January the 1st. That's all I'm saying.
But there's a
It
lot
is
of
not.
places that have different New Years.
That's right.
There's a
because-
Chinese New Year,
That's
there's a
right.
different New Year in
That's right,
Russia
but
and all these
ask
other
yourself
places.
why. You see,
Because
we
it's
sit
irrelevant,
here.
it's irrelevant.
No, it's not. We
Can I have a
sit here, but do we understand what we're talking about when we sit here?
Yeah.
See, you have to remember something. Just because you're sitting here in this class and you're learning different things, let's face reality. The reason why you have so many different religions and different this and different that is because of the original state that has been turned around, changed around, because everybody wants to have their own idea. But the original
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask you, sis.
And
is
that's the
because
problem.
time is fleeting, and I wanted you to get to a point. This is what when I thought you was gonna say New Year's Eve, I thought you was gonna say something really relative, like what is the history? That's what I
Provocative.
thought you was gonna do.
Something provocative.
Now, I'll ask Minister Brown for example. Mr. Brown, what's the history of Watch Night? Because it ain't really New Year's Eve, it's Watch Night.
Right.
Does anybody here remember, can you tell me what the history of Watch Night is?
Okay.
The history of Watch Night, and Harold will have a more clearer.
Well, either of you, one of y'all explain
Listen,
what Watch
no,
Night
no,
is.
no. It was the waiting of slaves for something, but I forgot what.
The midnight of January 1,
Yeah.
because this was the hour, the Emancipation Proclamation took effect in 1863. And, no, I'm sorry, 65. And black folk would come together in churches, mostly Baptists, that's what I grew up in. And they would, around 9 o'clock, they began to sing tunes and
Go ahead.
praise and thank God as they understood God. Until the midnight hour. And once that happened, the midnight hour, so that was the beginning of the new year and their manumission of freedom.
Right. Okay,
You
you
missed-
finished, Harold?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, now what Harold is saying is accurate, and that's what I thought you was gonna talk about, something
No,
very,
because
very
that-
significant.
No,
What is New Year's Eve?
I don't find that
New Year's
significant.
Eve is Watch Night. Watch Night now is a time to party. It's a time to shake your butt, go bananas, get high, get drunk as a kite, for some people, it's partying hard. For some people, it's going to church, praising God for giving you another year, and thanking God for the new year that's about to start.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't that 155 years ago.
No.
It wasn't that. It's been perverted. That's why I want it, and that's why I'm glad both of you said something about that. There's been a clear perversion in plain sight that we need to know as a people, and hopefully we'll stop doing it. We'll stop buying all that liquor or buying drugs to be high as a kite to bring in the new year and to, mentor, get that new piece. All right? There's some cats that want some new stuff for New Year's.
Yeah.
They want to start out the new year with some new, and maybe even some women want something new on New Year's. To be frank. Somebody said maybe. But, so I'm just saying that there has been a clear perversion. And whatever mindset you had last night, I'm saying that there was a collective consciousness that Minister Brown talked about. That in 1864, on December 31st, we were thinking, is the legislation under President Lincoln going to be signed into existence? In other words, that which he said in late 62, then officially January 1st of 63, which is black folks are going to be free, but it had a provision in it. And I'll quickly do it real quick with respect to time. He told the South that if you come in now, come back home, drop your weapons and come back home, you can keep your slaves. However, if you continue to hold on to your weapons and shoot at your government, then you lose your slaves, and they will all be free. That's what Lincoln said. You got 90 days to think about it. After those 90 days, you lose everything. We will take every slave and free them. That's what the South was proposed. And that's why I wanted you to say, when I heard New Year's Eve, I said, wow, I want to hear this. Because I want some of us to know that history. Those that are out there, because we talk about, we in here right now. But we got people out there last night that spent their last dollar, bought new suits. I saw some new suits out there last night. All new stuff, shaking their butts. I knew cats would say, yo, I would get something new tonight. You know, bring it in right.
Yeah.
And a few women, you know, but you know. You know what's out there. So you know, that was the mindset last night. New stuff. And I'm saying that the collective consciousness we had is that the few black independent churches we had, guess what? They was filled with a collective consciousness. Is it going to happen? Is it going down?
I don't think so.
Now, what preacher now preaches in church about watch night?
No.
The watch night was you praying to God. You trying to move God. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Now the Bible says.
What was you out there for last night?
Hold on. I was in Jersey, but it was different. I'll explain that after this stuff is over. It was different. But here's what.
Not in our race. It really
In the Bible, it says that God is moved by prayers. That's what the Bible says. It ain't me saying.
Oh, what God
The
is-
Bible says God. There's only one God.
He supposed to
God
be-
is
but-
moved
but-
by prayers. Hold on, sis. Hold on.
Learn to listen, sister.
Hold
Listen
on.
to learn.
Now, he says,
I know.
it says that God is moved by prayers. Black folks in chains, beaten, running for cover, running in the swamps where alligators are to try to get away from this bestial slave master. So when you get in church, you was really praying. I ain't talking about this fake stuff. Preachers putting on shows on Sundays, you know, doing all this dancing, shouting, you know, just putting on an act, and then later getting in that Cadillac later. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about real prayers. You know, the Bible says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. So we talking about sincere prayers to God, not to a man, not to an institution, to God. That God would move President Lincoln to bring freedom. That's how desperate our people was. Real sincere prayers to God. Last night, God was the last thing on most people's agenda. All right? Last night, God was not in our cinemost thoughts. All right? So I'm just saying that watch night in a 155-year period has gone from a collective consciousness for freedom, for those who were not even born yet, to now, how do you go from that to shaking your butts? That fall is as large as going from the pyramids, now living in projects slinging dope. It's the same thing. The same fall. Any man or woman that don't know who they are will walk around confused and do all kind of crazy stuff. You want everybody to know you the man. Anybody look at you the wrong way, you give them a two-piece. How sick. Can you imagine Harriet Tubman looking at somebody in Marcy, pulling guns on people that look like you, selling dope, poison to people that look like you? She'll say, what happened to my children? What is this? I didn't go into the South 19 times, bring out over 300 people for this, for you to do this. So I'm just saying, that's what watch night was. But if you can pervert in 155 years, so that's what, about seven or eight generations? If a generation is 20 years.
20.
So you talk about
that's
7
right.
generations. How can you pervert black people all over the world to now go from watch night, collectively getting together. I'm with you, Minister Brown, shoulder to shoulder. We got one mindset. We ain't thinking about all these other things. We got one mindset that we're going to strengthen ourselves, brother to brother, sister to sister, in such a way we're going to move God himself to say, strike the final blow for freedom, for us. How do we go from that to, as I said, you pyramid builders? You have sacred systems where 40 years of knowledge just puts you in a position now to become a master. You got to train for 40 years of study in the mystery system in Egypt. How do you go from that to now you selling dope and you making records bragging about you slinging this? When I come in, everybody know to hit the floor.
I think it's like the brother was talking about that glass jump.
You understand?
That's what it
So that's what I'm saying. So when I heard New Year's Eve, I said, oh, somebody gonna drop it. Because I'm thinking, we're gonna get into the real history of what last night was and what the day is supposed to be about. So if we confuse, then it's what Minister Brown was talking about, that fleet,
That's amazing.
that's so limited.
Night watch?
You know, and that's true, because you know, if you have a tank, and I don't know the metaphysics of it, but if you have a tank, well, let's say this breed of shark goes between 14 and 21 feet. If you put a little tank in your basement, that shark is only going to get so big. Because by the area that he's in, he's only going to grow to a certain height. He will never reach his full potential outside of his element. You put him in a foreign element, is limited, his possibilities. So right now, if we don't have an African consciousness, you know, I mean, when all is said and done, yeah, we charted the stars. Yes, we built the pyramids. If you don't have an African consciousness now, you must admit the consciousness you have is alien.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get around that. In other words, what am I saying? I'm saying if you don't see the world as an African, you see in the world as something other than African. So you ask yourself, why do I treat women this way? Why do I treat myself this way and others this way? Why do I look at this? Look, I know people with PhDs that would never be caught in this basement.
Of course, no way.
You know, I know PhDs that would never be around us. You should be joyful every time you see Dr. J.
Right.
Because he is around all of us, sitting, eating with us, laugh and joke with us. I mean, what PhD like him would get on a bus with us and go somewhere? You try to get, I mean, some of y'all might like Cornel West. You think Cornel West coming in here?
No, no chance.
Cornel West gonna come to your cookout in your backyard?
No.
Are you kidding me? Cornel West, when he speaks at a college, he gets $100,000.
At least.
Or you wouldn't even look at people like you. And of course, you know, when you talk about Skip Gates,
Oh, please.
you know, so I just, you know, go ahead.
I just want to say this to the sister because I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I do.
No.
But all religions come out of an African world understanding.
Yes.
All
That's
of it.
what
whether
they
it's-
were supposed to. What happened was that there was a crime that was committed, okay? And they killed over 70 or 80 million people to cover up that what you're talking about.
When did this happen?
See,
And when that happened, that's when everything came into change.
well,
Where now the Bible is, that's what the book is about. And the Bible has been authorized and made by like a movie, it's like a movie. The person the criminals who put it together all plotted to do this. And they fixed it up the way they wanted to. And this is what happened. And according to you, sir, so as far as you talk about learn something, you also need to learn. Okay?
sorry, say it
Because
again?
you also need to learn.
What?
You told me I need to learn something by listening. You need to listen and learn yourself. Because first of all, there's supposed to be only one God. But if you look around you, there's so many religions. That's more than one God. Chinese God, Indian God, all these different religions. Oh yes, yes, baby. I know this because I am 70 years old and I've been doing this for many years with my mom. I've been fighting with my mom since I was 10 years old about these different religions that she goes to. Okay, so I know I'm not
Let me
going
tell you,
to
Sister Melvin, just to speak to the jar and some of the things that I found out that we can do, you know, moving forward is with our seeds, with our kids. We have to groom our kids for excellence.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We have to get back into the family. We have to raise our families. You know what I'm saying? We have to gear them for the world so they can, and we have to give them this understanding that we have here. A lot of our kids don't even know that slavery wasn't that long ago. You understand? The stuff that was done to us, our families separated, what they do at the border is the same things they did to us in slavery. And there's a reason for that. You know, it helps to when you take away somebody's kids, it makes them more easier to control. Right. You know what I'm saying? But like we have to start grooming our kids. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You can't have. You know, I was going down the street. I saw this woman. She had two little boys with their pants down underneath their behind. They're not going nowhere in life with their pants down. But we have to groom our kids for excellence. That means from school we cannot accept failure. Failure is not an option.
Right. But like I was saying, we have to understand. You don't know it right now when I'm trying to explain to you, but I wish you could see what you don't understand. I'm a very deep person.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the religion thing is not what you think.
No, I just wanted to
It's not.
try to help the sister out.
And you'll find out.
Everyone has a God under a different language. In Africa, they had one God, but God was so far away that he had helpers like Shangu, Ogun, Oshun.
Those are gods, but
They're not gods, they're helpers. The white boy took it and made them angels. The Africans adapted them. He had a pretty good book. This is when the white boy came, this is what people practiced. Voodoo. White folks call it voodoo. And so, being that God was so far away, we had to have helpers. So we get gods of lightning, gods of thunder, and gods of the waters.
Let me throw this in.
Talking about
All
the
those elements within
We're not talking about all
yourself.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right, those are not gods.
Okay, so
They were
We
helpers.
need to talk
due
and
to
you know,
time,
iron things out, because when you don't do that,
They'll do what?
you
lady,
keep problems and we don't get together. All right, I'm not
All
trying
right.
to fight you
My
or
dear, my
anybody
dear.
else.
Ladies
I'm
and
trying to tell
gentlemen.
you what goes on.
give yourself a big hand.
All right.
Dr. Mackey, Amos, Louis Rivera, everybody, all of us, we're glad. Give yourself a big hand for coming. New Year's Day, as Mike says, information is one of the most important things that we can get, and we are starting here, 2020. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Brother Mike and Harold, James, me, all of us, for even thinking of the round robin. Excellent. Where everybody can give their opinion. We're not here to do any debates, because we're all we got.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bring a little one next week. Next 2 weeks, we'll be here in 2 weeks. So give yourself a hand. We're only scratching the surface. You can take pictures of the Harold collection. This way you can do your reading.
Don't take the book.
Take the book.